In today's episode, the special edition Ford Escort Masquerade. Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel. Yes, if you're new to the channel, we're here on YouTube. We talk about car brochures from around the world for the 1960s to the 1990s, but we sometimes go beyond those scope as well, of course. Now today, yes, we're looking at the Ford Escort Masquerade. This is a show that's first aired on a Saturday. Sometimes we look at special edition models. If we do look at a special edition, it's usually on a Saturday for those regular viewers, but for everyone else, you might be just finding this video now. It could be, of course, 2 years into the future and any day of the week. Really, time doesn't make much difference on YouTube, does it? But yes, the special edition Ford Escort Masquerade. Incidentally, if you've not done already, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. Never costs you anything to subscribe. Anyway, let's not waffle too much. Let's have a look at the brochure. So here is the brochure. It's actually a very nice front cover, isn't it? Escort to one side. The main title though is the special edition name of Masquerade. So this would be a brochure from October 1996, making it, well, in my view at least, a 6th generation Ford Escort. Now, before that, of course, came the 5th generation. I was never a big fan of the 5th generation, particularly pre-facelifted 5th generation Escorts, and it never really had a good write-up. And this really wasn't that much more, but I always had a higher regard for these last Escorts. I think they looked, I'm not going to say pretty, but they looked quite nice overall. This Ford Escort was revised in January 1995, although, like I say, it's still based on the previous model. We get new front lights, bonnet, front wings, front and rear bumper, wing mirrors, door handles, 4 different front radiator grills. You get slats, honeycomb, circles and a chrome. And, you know, Ford in the typical way moved the Ford logo around, but like I say, essentially it was the same car. I think the main change really, and one of the reasons the 5th generation was so slated, 5th generation had a horrible cheap interior. They moved the quality up a little bit on the interior. It was nothing out of the ordinary, but kind of like competitive with its rivals. But of course, this being based on the 5th generation, it's really, 5 years old, and most of its rivals were brand new vehicles or about to replace. So it did have its issues, but like I say, overall, just looking at them, I do think they look a better looking car than the 5th generation. Talking about generations, I know in Ford worlds and these generations, there seem to be an ever evolving thing. Some people might call this the 7th generation, I don't know, but for me, I'm referring to it as the 6th generation. But of course, if that has changed, let me know in the comments, because Ford, in the Ford enthusiast world, that seems to be an ever-changing thing somehow. More so with Ford than anyone else, and quite often, like I say, the 7th generation is mentioned. But anyway, I'm trying not to waffle too much. So this is the special edition version, of course, the Masquerade. So production ran from January 1995 to October 2002. We're saying this brochure is from October 96, so it's very early, isn't it, to be throwing special editions out there. But maybe that's a sign of where Escort was at this time. Maybe it wasn't such a desirable vehicle anymore, and they had to throw special editions to tempt people, like Ford was so good at doing. Let's just zoom in on the main image. So I always thought it was a nice front end, actually. Body coloured bumpers, of course, by this stage. Masquerade badge underneath the wing indicator, underneath that little rubbing strip. We can just about make out a badge. Wheels look fancy, but of course they're going to be wheel trims. And we'll also notice this is a 4-door. Yeah, it's the saloon version, of course. back in the day, the saloon version of the Escort was called the Orion. I'm not entirely sure why they dropped the Orion name. Maybe it was not a great seller at the end, and maybe sticking an Escort badge on was more desirable. I'm not entirely sure about that, but yes, even the saloon by this stage was called the Escort. Anyway, let's open the brochure up. So when we first open the brochure up, a bit of a nod to the brochure enthusiast. The paper quality is very nice. It's almost like a thin card quality and like a glossy sort of image, which probably helped this particular one last in such good condition, because for quarterlight terms, of course, this is a relatively new brochure, but 1996 is really actually quite some time ago. So let's talk about some of the features, etc. You know, standard features you would get on there, and the engines. And then this particular brochure opens up to show a very nice image of the Escort, very nice glossy image, which is actually very nice. And on the side, the specifications. We'll start here. We'll open this up and look at the main image in a bit more detail, and then we'll come to the specifications themselves. The subtle magic of the Escort Masquerade will enchant both driver and passenger. Its deluxe specification has many comfort and convenience features as standard, including a quick clear heated windscreen and central locking. The front passenger airbag and rear head restraints add to the feeling of confidence. A 1.6i 16 valve engine puts smooth power into the hands of the lucky driver. A CTX automatic gearbox is also available. All this makes the Escort Masquerade a perfect choice for the discerning motorist. So, in my view, you know, central locking on an Escort seems, ooh, this is high spec. But of course, this is 1996, so maybe it isn't such a huge thing, but still, in my mind, it is quite a high spec one, or at least it seems. But we'll look at the standard features. So the standard features include drivers and front passenger airbags, side impact door beams, power assisted steering. Oof. Again, I have to remind myself this is 1996, so I'm not so used to looking at 80s brochure, but nice to see power assisted steering. Body colour bumpers, metallic paint, a very special edition thing, that's the standard, isn't it? Electrically operated front windows, tilt or slide screened glass sunroof with louvered blind, a heated windscreen, quick clear with heated washer jets, central door locking, safeguard engine immobilizer. So, you know, I can see why it's calling it a deluxe specification. We also get a 60-40 split rear seat back, remote boot release, height adjustable rear seat head restraints, Poseidon velour seat trim, stereo radio cassette model 5000 with RDS EON, removable control panel, security key coded, 4 speakers. Optional features available at extra cost include ABS, I would like to have seen that, and CFC free air conditioning. I can imagine that being an option, because really we were in the UK, they were slow to adopt air conditioning because of the climate, really. So 2 models according to this: a Masquerade 4-door model with the 1.6i 16 valve and the same thing as an auto, so it doesn't look like we can get this one as a 5-door hatch. And then we get some images, you know, following on what we've just read, really. So power assisted steering for a smooth and easy driving experience is standard on the Masquerade. A quick clear heated windscreen is standard on the Masquerade for greater convenience and quick de-icing in cold weather. I never had that feature on a car. What was it like? You let me know. And then the final one is central locking means increased ease of use for both driver and passenger. And then the main image is described as the luxury interior has been designed with comfort and convenience in mind and includes a front passenger's airbag as standard. And then if we look at that image, we can see that dashboard. I actually always quite like the forward interiors actually, so I really don't have much to complain about, although you will notice if I zoom in, for all its talk about being a deluxe model or a deluxe special edition, no rev counter. which is a little bit unusual, isn't it? That seems a very typical special edition thing, to miss things like that out, because it would have been based on quite a lowly model. And then the main image, nice to see a big image actually on the brochure. And I mean big, but you know, it's a fair size, it's a double page spread. They give it that illusion of moving, which I never like in a brochure, but it's still quite nice. I still find it difficult to see the word Escort on a booted version, but possibly that's just me. But like I say, overall, not a bad looking car actually. I do particularly like this colour. I think there's 3 colour choices for this particular special edition. We'll have a look at that in a moment, but like I say, overall, not too bad looking. Like I say, it's nothing to write home about, but I do think it was an improvement over the previous generation. Anyway, let's have a look at the specifications. And here are those mechanical features. Now, when we talk about specifications in a 90s brochure, there's a huge contrast to a brochure I've just done for the Austin Cambridge, which was in every little bit of tiny details, really very mechanically minded. By the 90s, we get really a very much watered down specifications, which I always thought was a bad thing, but I guess for the average motorist this is all that people wanted to see now. So let's look at the engine. So only one engine, but it's talking about the manual and the automatic. So we only get a 1.6i 16 valve engine with a cat, with a 5-speed manual, but you know, by the 90s we would be a bit worried if we weren't using a 5-speed manual really. So maximum power is 90 PS at 5500 RPM, and then maximum torque is 134 Newton meters at 3000 RPM. Similar sort of story for the auto. The maximum power is exactly the same as is the maximum torque, so I'm not really entirely sure why they felt the need to separate those two figures. Anyway, moving to the brakes, we get diagonally split with dual line servo assistance, front discs and rear drums. Quite an old setup really, that, isn't it? Front disc, rear drums, and also no ABS. But I guess this is the 90s, but still I kind of would have liked to have seen discs all round and ABS, but maybe I'm asking too much of an Escort really. Fuel tank 55 litres, fuel cut-off, inertia switch. Steering gears rack and pinion with variable ratio, nice to see it's power assisted. Suspension and body, so front independent with McPherson struts, forward mounted anti-roll bar, rear twist beam rear suspension. Shock absorbers gas filled front and rear. Side impact door beams front and rear, steel safety cage, steering column, additional bracing, turning circle 10 meters, and moving up, or moving down is what I'm supposed to be saying, fuel and performance. So for the manual, the constant 56 miles per hour, we're getting 48.7, I'm presuming, miles per gallon. I think that's trying to show, although it doesn't tell us. On the urban cycle, it drops down to 29.7 miles per gallon, and then at constant 75 it's doing 40.9 miles per gallon. Moving down, oh, actually it does tell us, and it is miles per gallon, doesn't it? It tells us up here somewhere. In brackets is miles per gallon, although it's favouring the litres per 100 kilometres. I don't remember ever talking about that in the UK, litres per 100 kilometres. Anyway, moving to the automatic, the urban driving, we're getting 26.9 mpg, constant 56 miles per hour, we're getting 48.7 mpg, and then at constant 75 we're getting 37.7 mpg. So certainly a slight drop in miles per gallon for the auto, but of course we expect that. The all important speed, of course, and maximum speed for the 5-speed manual, we're getting a top speed of 110, which certainly in the 90s doesn't seem particularly special, and even worse though, actually 0 to 60 in 11.4 seconds in the mid 90s. Is it me, or does that sound pretty sedate actually? 30 to 50 is 9.4 seconds. For the automatic, it drops to a top speed of 108. 0 to 60 is a very sedate 13.7 seconds. 30 to 50, not available. I'm going to say too slow to measure. Anyway, moving on to the exterior features. So a body side 4-door, body side moulding's grey, bumpers body colour. Auto has sports style. That's interesting, isn't it? The automatic had a slightly different, more sportier bumper. That's peculiar. Metallic paint as standard, unique badging of course, rear pleat, body colour. Tells you about the wheels, which of course are steel with full wheel covers. Exterior, the aerial is roof mounted. Door mirrors, manual internal control, black housing, fuel cap, locking, heated rear window, heated windscreen, quick clear with heated washer jets, immobiliser, safeguard system, locks, anti-burst, locks, high security shielded with strengthened mountings, child proof on rear doors, locks, central locking, which is nice. We got a visible VIN number. Wipers front 2-speed plus intermittent with electric wash. Exterior lighting, halogen headlights, side lights, rear fog light and reversing light. We get a stereo radio cassette, which we talked about. Carpet and trim, carpet non-woven velour. Door bins front, door pull handle, armrest. Interior lighting, courtesy light, centre mounted, front door operated, light, luggage compartments, instruments and controls, instruments, speedometer, odometer, trip recorder, constant readout fuel gauge, water temperature gauge, graphic warning light system, warning indicators for oil pressure, direction indicators, high beam, ignition, alternator, brake failure, handbrake on airbags, lights on audible warning. Boot release is remote. Illuminated heater controls, 3-speed fan, 4 vents with temperature and direction control, 2 dedicated side window demists. Control stalks, column mounted for master lights, indicators and wash white functions. Airbag, drivers, airbag, front passenger with a little dot on there. We'll have to see what that is talking about. Steering wheel, 4-spoke, incorporating horn function. Okay, so it's just a warning actually for that front passenger saying don't put a rear-facing child seat in there. Seats and seat belts, front seats anti-submarining, front seats fully reclining, front seats head restraints height adjustable, rear seat folding back and cushion. Rear seats 60-40 split back. Nice to see that back seat splits for the saloon. Rear seat head restraints height adjustable, and again nice to see head restraints in the back. Seat belts front inertia reel with grabbers and height adjustable mounts. Rear 2 inertia reels with 1 centre lap static. That takes us to comfort and convenience. Accessory socket, cigar lighter, centre console with open storage box and integral coin slots, clock, analog quartz, glove box with lid and illumination, grab handles 3 with coat hooks, mirror, dipping rear view, mirror, passenger sun visor, storage, fascia, driver's lower, passenger's upper, sunroof, tilt slide screened glass with louvered blind, windows wind down in the rear, windows front electrically operated, luggage compartment, carpet, on floor with sidewall and wheel arch trims, parcel tray, rear fixed, and then the optional extras of air conditioning, ABS and a Ford compact phone, no less. That takes us to the colour and trim, so we're all using that same Poseidon velour seat trim. But we do have 3 colours all in metallic, so we get a metallic state blue, which would have been the colour in the brochure. We get a metallic pepper red and a metallic autumn green. And then moving to the back page, we can see where the dealer stamp should have been if it had been stamped. Unusual caption, which we'll come back to in a moment, but let's have a look at some of the small print. Now a lot of this stuff is just the usual garb. Talks about fuel figures, but then says we do not express or imply any guarantees that the car will do that. Illustrations and descriptions, right to change things, right to change colours and prices. Optional equipment it talks about. You should assume that it will be an extra cost to the base vehicle unless specified, which is not obvious. All models and colour combinations are subject to availability. Designed and produced electronically by Allen Burrows Limited in Gatestone, Essex. Printed by Jared Printing, Norwich. Published by the Marketing Communications, Ford Motor Company Limited, Brentwood, Essex, England. Registered in England, and then the brochure number of FA 12972. Also showing the date of October 1996, Ford Motor Company Limited. Let's have a look at that caption now, which is Escort, what do you do in yours? A bizarre caption. I'm not sure what they're asking or implying there. I really don't think Ford ever beated or bettered. Ford gives you more, did they really? But anyway, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free and always will be. You can also become a member if you want. There's 4 different levels, basically all giving the same thing, but really depending on how much you want to support the channel really. But thank you for those who've become a member. It really does help me keep going. We'll end with a little bit of an image for the Ford Escort Masquerade. I'm going to pop a couple of boxes to one side for you to continue your viewing pleasure if you wish. But overall, thank you so much for watching today. Please don't forget to like this video, and we'll see you again very soon. All the best, take care, and goodbye.